all the topics for today, or there is more things that
There's more things every time. Like
There's
the more I have time, the more I can cover.
Because I wanted to ask you to give us more example, but if you
About what?
about anything that you have teach us.
Also, I have a question.
We need 1 month to do that.
Okay, but keep going with the new topic. Yeah.
Also, I have a question about high order components.
Also,
I saw some videos, but I didn't understand. High order.
Yeah, higher order components, yes. Oh, higher order components.
Yeah.
Confusion is happening.
The higher order component is quite hard to understand. I don't even understand it 100% how.
Thank you. That was the perfect answer for you. Go and Google it. This is the answer.
We can go pretty quick, and just like I want to discuss higher order components and discuss also render props. These are two topics that it's quite important, but as he said, it's quite advanced.
Just ignore it because he can find all the answers.
It's
just
not.
thinks he's not in the class.
No.
Believe me, his question is so advanced.
It's not that.
And you cannot believe it. He's very high in this thing. Believe me, he knows so many things.
But this is a required knowledge to have. So before talking about higher order components, I just want to make it clear that you understand clearly routing, how to pass parameters, how to have links, how to have routes. Is this clear for all of you?
yeah.
Are you sure? What?
I don't have to say it's very clear. I don't get it.
Yeah, but is it clear that we have what's it called? We have browser router. We wrap it our own app, over the app. We declare routes. It's like for slash go here, for about go here, for profile go here, and these are components. And the route can be dynamic. Okay, and we have different components for routes, and these components will access the.
We can link to each other.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the same way we do URLs and stuff.
HTML, CSS.
Yeah. Is this clear? Like, of course, like to get it, you need to practice a lot. I can never get you to get 100%, but at least you know the basics. You know what every piece is doing. This is the most important thing. After that, you need to go and like play with it so your mind can get easy. It's like muscles. I can show you how to do an exercise, but the only way to actually get your muscles ready is to do the exercise yourself. So this is the idea. But if something is not clear, or I'm doing something or I'm writing something that it's not clear for you, just raise and say why you are using to, why you are using profile, why you are using router, why you are using X, why you are using Y. Everything is clear.
One thing. Component ditman.
He's looking at you in a funny way.
Component ditman.
Yeah.
In the first section, I think you explained about it, but it's not clear for me until now.
It's something.
Why we use it?
Yeah, it's
Why it's necessary, you know?
Yeah, it's necessary that if you want to do something after the render.
Yeah, but what component will mount?
For example.
Component will not. I told you, it's removed.
Ah, okay.
Component will mount. Component will mount.
Oh, will mount.
It will be removed. You can do it in the constructor because the constructor is before component the render. Did mount is after the render, and will end mount. Yeah, after the render, and will. This is why we see like.
For example, when we need it, for example, we have a page, so you can.
For example, we have been using it to fetch data.
Yeah.
We use it for the counter to set the set timeout. Every time you want to do something, after the render.
First, you render the component.
After that, you fire the.
Because it's maybe take time to render to fetch from the database. Okay.
And also, you don't want to do it at the same time because maybe it will not be rendered. Maybe the user will navigate away or something.
Yeah.
So what do you
how
know?
much it could be big, for example, we can put a lot of things in.
This is a
component
this is a function. It's a function. You can put A plus B and you can build the game engine here.
Okay.
It's a function, nothing related to React here.
Yeah, and then there is another one called component.
Will unmount.
Search update or something. Update.
Component did update.
Did update or something.
Component did update. It's happening every time you update something. So every time the component is updated. So the way you should think about it is, we discussed that actually in details, if I remember.
We did. Both so.
Yeah. So usually you have the constructor, and you have the render, and you have did mount. If the component will update when you call set state or when the props change,
Yeah.
it will say should component update. Should component update is like should I need? It's a way to tell React that I don't need to update. Let's say you have a static component that doesn't want to update, even if you update. You can say should component update and return false inside it. This is a way to skip the update. So if you have a function, should component update, a function like component, and you return either true or false. If you return true, the component will update. If you return false, it will not update.
Also, you want all the thing being updating
Except this
of
one.
that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes you want to skip the update.
Okay.
In really like heavy applications, there's a lot of updates going on. So you need to be smart. Update only when this happened and this happened. So you can say only update when the search update, but not when the props up, stuff like that. But this is a way to optimize it. But it's out of scope. There is a render. After that, there is component did update. So
It's different from the dismount.
yeah, this one is after mounting first time, but this one it will be called every time the component will update.
Okay.
So if the component will mount once, this and the component will update 5 times. Every time update component did mount, did update component did update component did update.
So did mount
Only once.
Fire only one time
Yeah.
because in the example of the fetching, we fetch the thing when we find when we define the username.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. And then you have to update it, okay, or go back again to write another name.
Yeah. Exactly.
But if you do, let's try it. I mean, if you write your how to say your GitHub name, okay,
Yeah.
username, and you refresh the page on.
It will be created again. It will be a re-render.
So
Oh, yeah.
component did mount.
Okay.
So it will be component did mount again
Yeah.
because you are not just updating the component. The whole thing is updated.
Okay, so if you go back and come again,
It's still the same.
still the same.
Yeah.
Still refreshing
Yeah.
the same. So it doesn't make sense anyway. So for that reason, so this month, I mean, it doesn't really need. You don't really.
No, like sometimes, for example, a really simple things.
Yeah.
Really simple. You add a friend.
Oh.
You change it to add, so the component will update and be add.
Just one
When you have a long-lived, now we are interacting. Well, now we fetch once, we stop. But usually in Facebook, for example, you send messages, you receive messages, you send messages, you receive. So there's an update every time. You know the idea?
Yeah.
Here we are only fetching once because our application is not interactive. But if you have, for example, Netflix, the movie it's keep progressing, there's updates. Facebook, there's updates. So the component did update is firing a lot of times, but did mount is only once. For example,
Okay.
the box for Facebook, it will be mounted. You fetch the messages. After that, when you send a message, it's an update. You append the message. Update. You append the message. Update. You append the message.
So in this part, in component did update.
Yeah. Yeah. So update happen when you have change in the props or set state. For example, this component, when we say set state here, it will re-render again, and it will call component did update. It will not call component did mount again. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So this component will render once, and after that update again. So if you say
It's like a add component that we have done last time.
which outcome?
You know, when you create that application that you add the user or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Add user, yeah.
Or add to do or something.
Add to do. You do it when you click on the button. It will re-render.
Exactly. No, it will re-update. It will update. It will not re-render.
Update.
It will update.
So update it can even be without writing. Do it in the background. You don't see it.
Yeah, because for example, when you click a button and add the to do, React you will update the state with the new props, with the new item,
Okay, so it's
and
not
React will update.
not re-render.
No,
Otherwise
you cannot
see the
see.
page,
No,
refreshes.
you cannot see.
Okay,
Because
okay.
React is smartly going and say, only this changed. Remember when you talked about that React will keep the state and keep the DOM,
Yeah.
and every time you interact, you
Oh,
change.
this is changed.
Exactly. If React will see that we added only one ally, it will go and add ally. React will not keep refreshing the whole thing.
Depend on a state.
Exactly. Depends on what
The
we are
state
doing.
should change. If a state change, so the
Or
component
props will change or
Ah,
something.
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be because of a lot of things. Set timeout will do a set change or something.
What do you want to do here? You know?
Yeah, just to write component did update. Yeah, so you can see here that okay, this is just data fetching. We will remove this one. You can see here the component re-rendered once. Updating. You can see there is an update. Why there is an update? Because when you set state here, the component will render again, and we call a component did update. So component did mount will be called once after the render, the first render, and component did update will be called every time you re-render
So
the
if you
component.
console log something in
Here.
the did mount, you will see it once.
Yeah.
And then you will delete and you will see the updating console log.
Say hello after that updating.
Now, for example, change the name. Just we don't have any hello again because just the props change. Change units to another name.
Say hack.
No, it's re-rendering anyways.
This
It's
is
a-
re-rendering because I'm putting new URL here. I'm
if
accessing.
you know, but if you add the go to about to go to home and without refreshing, it will just go. It probably will not happen.
Let's see that.
But we can do it in the already done.
The thing is,
in
the
profile.
thing that you should think about, the thing that you should think about is this. When you change the route, the component will disappear from. No, it's not refreshing. React will JavaScript will go and remove this component profile, and add this component home. So your whole component is removed.
It's like a switch route.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
If it's
So
the
if we
case,
get-
it's not the case. If it's the
Yeah.
case, so take me.
If we make class, this is let's say
Oh,
export default
here is more. You should move.
class who extends React dot component. Okay.
And
We can put here component did mount component did update
update.
component will and mount. Mounting.
Mount.
No, it's mounted
We can say mounted as you
because
like.
it did mount.
You are so picky about English. You are
But
so
it should-
picky about in S
But,
at
I
the
mean,
end.
but it should be the present continuous should be in the updated.
Yes.
Present continuous. He's going crazy. This guy.
No, but because it
You are
helped
not
you, it
English.
helped
You are
it
not
helped you, man.
English.
Yeah, I try to be English.
Attention to here.
You'll not be silent. That's it.
We get a strong opinion should be.
Yeah, about English.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Will
it's
mount.
not your language.
Will and mount, no.
Announcing.
No, will and
Started
mount.
it with
Man, I don't care.
Okay.
So if we go to home, We will say mounted.
Mount.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go to profile,
It's hello from the profile. Okay.
yeah,
But mounted, it doesn't repeat again.
no, it never mount again
Okay.
unless you change everything. So
There's
if
someone called Yunus.
yeah,
Doesn't have any power.
so if we go to update,
Yeah. Now the
Not
route
updating.
change. The,
yeah, the whole route is changing.
just jump to home and about.
So if you go from component to component,
It's mount again. Why? Because just
It's a new place.
But if
It's not the
just-
same component.
But it's just in the same component. and
No,
it's-
no, it's two components.
Okay, whatever.
so component will and mount. Is it correct?
But if a different component, of course, when you call the different component, it will be mounted itself.
Yeah, I was mistaken. Just I'm sorry. I always do this mistake. The M here, it should be small. So if you go to home, it's mounted. You go to profile, it's unmounted. It's removed from the screen. It's not there anymore. It's not updating. It's removed. Home is not in the screen at all. Home, it was removed.
Okay. Home, because of home.
Home. Now if we go to, it's unmounted.
Now
If we go back, it's mounted.
Mounted.
If we go to about, so it's not just updating. The whole component is removed. You don't see it in the screen. So it's removed from the screen and added again, and removed and added again. That's different from updating. Because updating is like when I see when I see to-do list, I add one item and add one item, I remove one item. But this time I removed everything.
Because you go from this kind of like this box to another box.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you are just on the same button, you are just moving around that box.
Make sense?
Yes.
Is that a bit clear?
No.
Yeah. So what I can explain a bit more now about yeah. So just first there is something I didn't mention in this class, but it's quite important, which is hooks. I don't know if someone heard about hooks before.
Yeah.
HOO.
Okay.
Yeah.
HOOK.
KS.
The one you find with the
React.
No one like okay. This is a new thing in React. I will not go into details with it because it needs a whole class to mention it. But it's basically making functional components, because until now we have, every time we needed state or something, we convert the function to a class. Because function cannot do life cycle, cannot do, but with hooks we can do that with functions. So this is the idea behind hooks. Now functions are becoming a first class citizen in React, where you can do so many things with hooks. I will just give you a quick example about it, but it's up to you to go on, because most of the people, they are still not using it.
Repeat again, because if we want to use, for example, a state, we have classes.
It's yeah,
But
it's a new way of thinking about React. It's a new API. Only using functions. You know what I mean? It's completely voluntarily. You don't need to use it, because you as you said, if I have a class with state, why I should use hooks? It's something that the React team decided to release, and they said it's good. I do believe it's. I use hooks. I don't use classes. I like hooks more, but it's completely voluntary. It's about you if you like it or not. You know what I mean? If you're happy with classes, so there is no rush to leave the class and go and search for hooks now. No, it's not something that you need to learn. No, you already know how to do it. It's like instead of like taking the bus, you can ride the bike. You can ride the bike or take the bus. Or take a walk. It's up to you. So just to give you a quick. I will create a small component. I will create it in index here.
make an apple. It's better.
What?
Make an apple.
Make another one?
Apple.
So I will say function. Counter component. Okay?
What do you want to do?
So I thought I don't.
You're not following me. You should follow. This is just 5 minutes, so you can know that something exists. So let's say render. Sorry, what I'm doing? This is completely wrong. So button. Say count. Okay. So technically now we need state where we can store the count, and here we can say on click. Oh, what we can do here is like plus, no plus, and we say increment. Okay, and here we can say or we can just put the count here. So technically we need a count, what we are incrementing, and we need also an increment, a method, so it will increase it by 1. Okay, so usually you will convert this to a class to do that and use state. With hooks is like you can do that with just a function. How you do it? So basically there is something called react use something. So you can say, for example, const x, I will name it after, equal react dot use what you want, state. So use state, and you give it an initial value. It's like initializing the state. Usually with 0 and defined, we put 0. Just initializing, and this will return an array. Let's say state array. The first 0 is the value itself. The second item is the how to update the state. So it's an array of a function. So I can say it here. So I will just use undefined here and use test. Just so I can console.log.
There will be an object.
It's an array.
Sorry.
An array with 2 items. And it's in the we are not rendering the component. I will render it top level. So it's not inside any route now. It's inside itself. So test. So you can see it's 0 and the function. 0 means the current state. Function means how to update the state. It's like set state. So I can easily do that. So instead of saying 0 and 1, I can destructor. First it will be the counter, the count, and the second one I will name it set count. But it doesn't matter what I name it here. X count. It's about the order. The first is a state, the second one is a function. Make sense? So I can put the count here.
So count will be equal 0.
Yeah. It's 0.
Because in the parentheses you
Initialize it with 0. We have set count. Set count only, so we can call set count and say, we can pass a function here. When it will be called, we say set count, count plus 1.
But how does it know the count is a function?
It's because it's the second parameter. It's the second
Index.
the first, so it's an array of 2 items.
Okay.
You can see it's an array of 2 items.
Okay.
The first one is a number, which is the initial value.
Okay.
The second one is the function.
Okay.
So the first one is the value itself, the second one how to update the value.
Now.
So if we say set count, count plus 1, we can update it. That's so much easier than having class with state and stuff.
So in the class, the same count.
We can do the same.
state.
Just a second. Class counter component 2. Yeah, sorry. state equal count 0.
It's more powerful than set a state because we can define a
This is the new
special.
method, yes?
Yes.
This here is written.
Say this dot state and
that count.
we need a function called set count, and this we call set state. With count is this dot state dot count plus 1, and we say so this is the first and this is the second. This is the new way, this is the old way, or I don't know how we call it. This is the new API, this is the old API.
We can use the second method after we are master of this part.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is people will stop using these
Okay.
and replace it
The
with
first
this
time it's called hook.
hooks.
Okay.
What they use a hook?
So this is the new API. It will not replace this one, but more people will start use this one instead of this one.
But we are smart to use the other one because we
It-
want to get a
I-
good job
I
with
would s-
Google.
No, Google doesn't use React. So good luck. This is more about, do you prefer classes or functions? It's more, some people they hate classes. So
We can
Google
define
doesn't
git mount.
use React.
maybe there is some people using React, but we don't know.
We can define component git mount. There.
We can, but we use something called React dot use effect,
But all these functionality are in
and this will be
documentation.
called after the render.
Are the in the documentation.
So it's different. Yeah, everything inside the documentation. You can go introducing hooks. If you're interested in hooks, go and read this one. I just want to show you that something exists, so you can see the elephant in the room instead of like ignoring it.
Okay.
Make sense? So I will delete this counter. Okay, I will delete this component. I kept it here, but I hate single line comment. Okay, so this is just a different way of doing it. Something else I wanted to talk about, it's outside of scope a bit, but probably you will need it, which is sort of state management. So there is something in React called context. So context is a way to, so we don't have a whiteboard here, but basically, if you have a component, okay, so let's try for example to have a theme. For example, you have a theme component, and it provides you with some colors. And after, or it provides you with the user, any component that's providing us with some information, user, color, something global. And some other components, they need it. They need the username or they need the color. Technically, you need to pass the props down. Keep passing props down from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, until you reach that one. If you have a lot of components, but with context, you can actually say, I'm providing this on the top level. And any component inside can say, give me this from the context, give me this from the context. So it's a way to pass props without doing it explicitly.
It's not necessary. Directly.
It will go directly, so anyone can reach and take the props. It's like having some cookies on the table. If you want, just go and take. Instead of you manually taking one, putting in like, whatever. Let's take a small example. Let's say we have let's build like a super small layout. So I will build up to. So let's say I have up to, or let's say I have this. So now I want to weigh. So when I can go to the profile, for example, I have a component called we are in the profile. So we go to div. I'm not sure. I am. So basically, what I want to achieve is like I want to have a component down here that can change the style of the whole thing. So you would say like a red or blue or something like that. So a button. So the way we do it is I will go, but I can add it technically here. No. Yeah. So I will go to the profile page or to the about page, for example. And here I will have put a component called, let's say,
Style.
color switch. Okay. And I will create a new file called colorswitch.js and import color switch from this one. Hmm?
You put on.
Yeah, I put it because it's not a route. We'll not have a route for it. So color switch, and we go to profile, or which one? Auto. Yeah, about. We say import color switch from color switch. Okay. And this color switch component will say export or import React first. Import React from React class or just a function color switch.
Return.
Say return div, say hello, export default. We have hello here. Okay. So we want this component to be select with few options. So I will say const options, or
There is a element called option.
yeah, I know. I'm just thinking about if should I put it on the top component or this one. So let's say let's just put it here. Let's say option. And let's put here, for example, red. And is it ID or what? What does the key? Key, I think. Red. Yeah. Blue. Blue. Okay. So now every time you pick a color, we want to go and change the color of the body, the whole background, and make it blue or make it red or something. Okay. So I can put it inside this component, but this is something that it's related to the whole parent, to the whole application. So putting the logic here, that doesn't really work well. Or we can go more specific, and let's say that I want to change the color of the, let's remove the profile or the about. Let's say this up. So I can say style, it's an object, and say background red. It's super ugly, but or blue. This one I want to change the drop down here and change the color on the page. Make sense? So this one needs to communicate with this one. Whenever this change, we want to change this.
You should import it.
And between them is about.
Yeah,
Between them is
yeah. So an idea, I can have state. I need to have state because every time you change, or I can only have on change because you see select. I don't need to hold any value. Okay? So every time you change this, I want to change this color. So this will communicate with this one, the color switch. So they need to communicate together. And every time we said we two components that are siblings, or like inside the structure, they need to have like a common parent. So for example, the index here should have a parent that give it a style, background color, and we should also pass it to this component, so we can change it. So let's try to do it that way. So I will just create
Import, you don't have
we can make this a class. Okay, because this color switch is already imported and displayed in the about. But I need to make them communicate. How? So the manual way is using class and extends React component. You say render. Okay, we are good. We are good. Here we can have state. Okay, and we can have color. Let's start with white.
or undefined.
We don't want an undefined color.
Yeah, but white will keep you white. Like
Yeah, unless you change it. So default it will be white, like 0. When you start counting, it will go up, or you can change it with the drop down. So we can say here const background color.
This state.
Yeah, as you said, color this dot state. So we can just use this structure color. It's white now. If we make this red, should be red. Make sense? But this component needs to actually change that. So before actually this component can change it, we want to have a method so we can change the color. So we can say change color. This dot set state.
shouldn't take yeah, that's what I want.
Precisely. So someone needs to call this color. So a manual way we can do it, we can go this and
Or a component called the prop, and take it as a prop.
yeah, we can actually do this. Pass a function here as a component and do about and take props from here and spread props. Is it clear what I'm doing here? So instead of making React Router rendering my component, I pass the component here. So I can actually pass extra stuff. So test.
Yeah.
Is this clear, everybody?
No.
What I'm doing here is I have a component. Usually I give it just one component. Now I give it a functional component, kind of. And I will take props. So instead of passing component, I'm inlining a component here. So this is literally a component. I'm inlining it here. So I can render about here with the props. Yeah. So about is still here. So this is the same as just passing about here.
But in this way you can pass the props.
More stuff to it.
More.
This is the idea.
Okay.
It's not clear. Oh, this one is not clear?
But you can even do pass this that
Yeah.
state that.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to
dot
achieve.
state.
This is what I'm trying to achieve. But if this is not clear, this is mainly just spreading the props. So if you have an object with A and B, this will, so let's say props is A 5, B 5 or 6, something. This, it will go and say A equal 5, B equal 6. So it will deconstruct the props and apply them to the component.
So as long as you say the three rows.
Yeah, it's when you say the zeros, it will deconstruct them.
So that.
So if you have an object like this, each property will be applied separately. Is this clear for everyone? Is it clear, Omid?
Yes, no.
You should not lie.
Then we go home and. Yeah.
No.
We just like deconstruct the props here. I can do it manually. I can say match equal props dot match, history equal props dot history. All the props, but I can just like spread it. And I can pass a second thing, which is the color. So I can say color is color from here. Is it clear? I'm just passing this color as a props.
More
Props.
More.
So if I go to the about and say props,
Now we have also color is that.
What's going on?
I don't know what happened, to be honest. Yeah. So we have here color.
But
We have
do you
history,
really-
location, stuff, and we have color.
Do you really need the props on the?
Yeah, so I can pass it to this one.
But do you really need them now for the color? You don't really need them. So you
Yeah, but the about needs them.
huh?
The about needs them. So if you go to about here,
Ah, okay, yeah.
because we are passing through about, I cannot override about.
yeah.
About needs the props for some reasons because it's a routing component. So here I can say color, and
Props that color.
yes, props.color, props.color, and also I need color change. So when the color is changing, I want the callback to be fired. So I would say, sorry, there is no this. Say props dot. If I go to the index,
Change. What? Change color.
just a second.
You already have it.
Yeah, I'm trying to close it. So if we have change color, we can also pass change color here. Okay. And we grab it here, change color. Is this clear what I'm doing? I'm passing two props here, grabbing them in about, and passing them to switch again.
Yeah.
Is this clear?
One props and one method.
Is this clear for all of you or not? So I have two props here,
Yes.
color and change color.
Can we send both of them at the same?
What?
Can we send both of them at the same? in the
Yeah,
same-
you can pass an object. You can say color and pass an object here. Color stuff.
yeah,
But
okay.
I'm not a big fan of. You can do it if you want, but I don't like it. I like to separate props. So I don't have like objects, and you can name them whatever you want. Stuff
Yeah.
not good. So I'm passing two props here, color and change color.
And three before.
And this one is with the match and the stuff from React Router. We don't care. Okay?
But you have to pass them because
Because maybe you will need them in the about component. You cannot override them. We don't want to override the default stuff from React Router. Because if, for example, I need here to go to the params or something, I need to put this here. But in this case, I can do this technically. But if I will add something to the about, it will break. Color, change color. Make sense? It's two props coming from state and function. We receive them in about. We give them again to color switch.
Twice.
So we keep passing. And in color switch, we can say props. We can console.log props. And we will have
two props.
we can have here color and color change. It's coming from the top component and going down. Make sense? So here I can say value is props dot value. I need to add a white option here, just so we can have a uniform. Yeah. So what's not selected?
Should option selected.
No, and we say on change just to, so we can say console.log e. We are good, and this is color, not value. Okay. White is selected. If I would change blue, I have an event. And I can do the same story about target and value. So I can say e the target dot value. White, blue, red. Cool. So we can easily not return it, but call props. And how it's called? It's called change color. Change color. Change color. Color change. Here we inverse the name. That's tricky. So we need to use this name, not the other name, because the component is taken from this one. And we pass e.target.value. All the stuff to do background change. Any questions?
Yeah. You don't want to do it with this manner. You want to do it with context.
Yeah. But we need to see how context is solving our life.
Okay.
We cannot just go and jump on context, and we don't understand what the context is doing. Do you have any question about this?
Could you go to about? Okay, color change here, change color from.
You can use another method to change the color.
Yeah, you can develop more. Yeah, say more. Which method?
We could use the JavaScript to change the color, you know.
But how I can change the color of this div?
We learned it before. In the JavaScript, we have done it before.
Yeah, but you don't know this div. You don't know it.
It's in a separate component.
It's in a separate component. You don't know that this div exists at all. This is not, if it's a body or something, I can say get element by name and a body and change it. But this is a div. This could be a sidebar here or something. You know what I mean? That I don't know how to do it with JavaScript. Because I don't know even that this exists. And if you do it, the way you say it with JavaScript, soon you will have a code that is like spaghetti, like this. Because this is calling this, changing this color. It's like, what's happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now we have clearly the data flow. This props is taking by this to change this. This is the whole idea behind React. First, when you learn it, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because you can do it with JavaScript. But this is separation. You can see clearly that this is changing a variable coming from here coming from this state to change this. It's not a random event listener with
In props we have function which change other components.
Sorry?
We have several components and from one we want to change background. In props you send function which change color in the background.
exactly.
It's like links between two components.
And for example, if I have more complex, if for example, let's say I'm not allowed to have black, because if we have an option, black, that would be so hilarious. Super ugly. Let's say I'm not allowing the user to change the color to black. Okay, where I can do it? I can clearly here come and say if color is equal black, alert, no, you can't use black. Okay? We can just return and it will not go down. So say black, no, you cannot use black. Blue,
But why isn't it you don't need to use black?
it's like the designer comes to me and said, have an input with black, but you cannot use black.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not really. But I'm just showing you that it's easy to add logic and extend the logic here. If we are having a couplet component, I need to change it here and go and change it here and go and change it there, which is like super difficult to maintain over time. What do you think about another maybe advanced functionality that we can add to this? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. No, that will be. I was thinking about adding a checkbox so we can allow or not allow, but that would be like super. But is it clear a bit?
No, it's fine.
He wants to beat me. Stop.
No, no.
I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
Every time I promise to myself not to come to class next week, but I come.
No, that's a good thing. You should keep doing that.
I cannot keep my promise for myself.
You should, yeah, you should come. You should keep coming. And this is the last week.
Yeah.
So you don't need to promise yourself anything more. Clear? So I can explain how we can do it with context, and you will see the approach.
But keep it this codes for us because
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, we don't have Git, but we can export a different component here. Color switch to.
oh,
It's not default. And we go to a button, say color switch to. Okay. The way I want to do it, I don't need to pass all this stuff. I can import color switch to. And comment. Well, I could easily comment that. I'm just super lazy. It doesn't work.
You do curly bracket.
I know. I'm just trying to use the shortcut. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the shortcut doesn't work. So we can keep this one and comment this one. Okay. So I want a way to communicate between this component and the other component without actually passing through everything through a bot, because a bot doesn't care about the color, to be honest. A bot is just like, oh, you want to pass it to that one, give it to me, I will pass it to it, and I will forget. So it's just like we are making a bot tired, and the bot doesn't have anything to do with the color. So we can use context for that, and the whole idea about context,
maybe about easy.
So let's create a new file. Let's call it context.js. And we import React. Okay. We say class context, or let's not do that. Let's create a context sphere. So to create a context in React, you say context. You say const, and you say, for example, color context equal React dot create context. That will create a context for you, and the context has a default value. So let's say, so the role of the context is like an object or a plate. You put stuff on it and you can give it to everyone. This is the role of an object. It's a way to exchange information with other components in a sort of plate. And you can have a context for a counter and initialize it with 0 if it's a counter. We will have an object now. I will not initialize it. Okay? A context will have two properties: context provider and context consumer. Context provider is the way so you can provide the information, and consumer is the way to consume it. I will show you an example. It sounds like fancy words, provider and consumer. It's just dummy fuck. Okay? So we can say export default color switch. Color context, sorry. Okay. So in the index, we say import context from context. Okay. So if we console.log the context, this is the context. It's a lot of stuff. And I don't know what the other stuff means, to be honest. These are the two important things. These are React components. So context gives you two components. Context.provider and context. I was about consumer. Okay. So these are two components given by the context. So we can say const color provider equal this. Const color consumer equal make sense? And the way I do it, sorry, I just need to put this in the top. The way I do it is I render the provider. I render it like the route component. I render it somewhere. It's up to me. I will render it here in the top. Okay. I'll put it inside everything. Color provider. There is something wrong here. Can you spot the error with me? Yeah, this is
not an error.
It's an error. Yeah. So you wrap your component in a provider, and you provide it with a value. So the value, I will pass two things.
Color
I'll pass color
and
the way to change the color. These are the two information that I need everywhere. To get the color, change the color. And we can make about simple again, like the old way. Sorry, I will just make it work again. So I will just copy this.
Comment.
Yeah. I need to do it the hard way. The whole. I think I can just do this. Yeah, I can just do this because it's inside an attribute, which is basically JavaScript. So instead of doing this, I can just say component and pass the symbol about again.
As before.
About. À propos.
I don't need it.
Okay, so here we can set, as you said, color and change color equal this dot change color. Okay, so the provider has these two values now. So if I would go to the color switch and import consumer, no, I will import context from context.
No, but now.
So I know now technically I can access. So if I would say const, just a second, consumer from equal context dot consumer.
Good luck.
So now technically with this component I can access what was written here.
So there is no need to write it here.
No.
Consumer.
So yeah, there is no need to write it here. This is the first thing. But the idea is like I don't need to pass now anything because I pass it to the provider. Everywhere I mention the consumer, I can access what was passed to the provider, anywhere. So you can imagine how much is how powerful it is to just like pass values or props on the
So
fly.
you do contact.consumer.color. Contact
No.
that value.
Actually, that's not how you consume it. The way you consume it is, so this is a component. So you say consumer. Okay. And what you do is you pass a function here. It's like a function, literally a function. Is it clear that you need to pass a function here? So instead of putting, for example, like div, you pass a function. And that function will return what you want.
This one.
Okay,
So,
inside the switch.
Consumer and provider, both of them are components.
Yes, both are component.
But one of them
Accept the function.
pass the state from the parent.
The provider will get the value and provide it to the others. And the consumer,
The consumer gets it.
yes. This is the idea. With the consumer, you consume what was provided by the
So
provider.
you can
So you can
define-
consume what was provided.
You can define consume in several components.
Yeah.
or- Okay.
You can
Very-
consume it here
very
and there
good.
and there and there and there and there.
But
and there.
just one provider is enough.
It's enough.
Okay.
You know, I can, for example, I can tell you an information and tell Badr the same information.
Yeah.
I don't need to copy the information. I can just tell you both.
Okay, just one.
I have one value and I pass it everywhere. For example, am I an admin? And I pass am I an admin everywhere. I don't need to have multiple am I an admin. I just like
So why pass the function?
the way you pass a function is like so you can get access to the value because there is no other ways you can access the value. How you can access the value here inside the consumer? Use a function, and consumer will call you with the value here. So the value that you provided here, it will be here.
It's like doing pathing and doing this, that props, that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not all of the state. Maybe some part of the state.
What do you mean?
Value is okay. Value is a state here.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It doesn't matter. I can
Some
pass.
of the-
I can pass x5. I'm passing an object here. This is what you should retain.
okay.
I'm passing an object.
Object, but
Could be a state. Could be anything. Could be hello, could be, I could say color, blue,
Oh,
doesn't matter.
but object. And here,
Here I pass a function, so I can get it. So the way I do it, I just go here. I say consumer. Consumer. Okay, and I write a function, and inside it I will return what I want. So this is the difference. And here you can say value, and you can say value.color, value.change color.
What color change, I think.
please
Oh.
comment the previous one.
Change color.
Oh yeah, no,
Change
I
that.
forgot that we were
Yeah.
not using the props anymore.
Yes.
You cannot use black. You can see there is a good pattern here that we were providing props. After that, we changed it to the context, but the whole structure and the logic didn't really change. You get the idea? I still have state here with the function here. I pass it through here or I pass it through here. It doesn't matter. So this is really like decoupling your application. So your application is not coupled together like this. If you need to change the dot here, you need to go everywhere and change it.
Jump to the main.
Exactly. Now everything is separated, separation of concern. So we can go exactly here and change it, and exactly here
Step
change
by
it.
step, you should
Yeah.
pass, but
We don't
here
need.
you said just
Yeah. This could be, for example, coming from an input. We can have an input text here now, and put it here, and that doesn't really affect the color switch. This is the power when you are separating stuff. Is the idea of what I've said about the input is clear? I can have an input here, for example. I can, for example, yeah. But the input will be the same. But you get the idea. That this could be coming from something else. This could be coming from an API call. For example, the backend may store the theme that you are using. Like Reddit, they store which color you are using. We get it here and we give it the user so he can switch it.
we give a control to the change.
Yeah.
So we can pass as much value as we want from
This
the,
is an object.
from the provider.
This is an object.
Yeah, we can pass as much.
It's an
value as we
object.
want.
You can pass a function.
Yeah. So instead of
I will do something crazy. I will show you something. Don't do it at home. I will pass a home component, and I will say here value.
What? Component.
Now we have another home under home. It's a bit weird, but just to get the idea that home is just a component. It's a class. I put it here. I can grab it here and do whatever I like with it.
Wow.
You get the idea?
Yeah.
This is the power. It's like you can
so
compose.
we can just write like.
Imagine that you can write an application that is super dynamic. The user can delete a div, add a div here, and with the context you can keep adding stuff and removing stuff. And
Like for example, can I give you an example? If you go to the index.
you can give me an example.
No, an example that you can explain me how that will work. If you can go in the index.js, no, in the index file. Yeah. Okay. So for instance, now we want to change the color provider on the div. Okay. Let's say that we have it and we want to change it only on the H1.
Yeah.
So we don't need to wrap the color provider on all the elements.
No, you do it once on the top.
On everything,
Yeah.
and then you
And-
use it whenever you want.
Yeah.
So
You use the
better-
consumer wherever you want.
So we should be better to call it like a provider and pass all the value that we need and pass the value.
Yeah, but
that
it's
we want.
better sometimes. For example, if you have a provider for a user, if you have a provider for the theme, if you have a third provider, for example, for friends,
Yeah, but how
it's
we
not
can
good
do
to put them all together. Why? Because if you change friends, you need to touch user and colors. But if you have separated,
it? Yeah.
and the way you do it, you can just render another provider here. You can say user provider, and
No.
pass it a value. and you can have a consumer, user consumer, and consumer.
Oh, so in the same return.
Or you can wrap it in another component. You can wrap it here, for
No,
example.
I'm saying about the same component. Okay, let's say that we have a user provider.
Yeah,
We can do it in the same return.
you can do it 600,000 component, or you can have 6 providers here. It doesn't matter.
What I'm saying, it shouldn't be inside the same provider.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to have them both together. Yeah,
So one separate from the other.
yeah,
So can you just write on the return, for instance, user provider? I mean,
yeah. Like where? Like here, for example.
you know, before.
Oh, you mean here?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I mean, yeah. And you close the tab.
Yeah, and this you put it down here.
Oh, okay. That's what I was saying. So you
You
put
nest-
it down.
you nest.
You
You nest.
But-
It's like
but-
divs inside divs.
Yeah, but if that's what I was saying, asking about the value, I can put everything in the value. It doesn't make really sense like that.
You should mention that which part.
Yeah, I
is
was thinking-
the provider.
You can, for example, pass value, and it's an object. Name is Yunus.
Yeah.
And now we have, for example, here, if we need it here, we can import another context. Context 2. You know, we will have multiple create contexts.
Yeah, I got it. But if you can go to the index again, 1 second. Could I show you?
Of course you can.
I'm so sorry. Yeah,
Just don't go super complex.
No. That's the same. I want just to do like.
You put it inside it?
No. External.
Outside is. Okay.
Like this.
You cannot return two
And
things.
then
You cannot return 2 things. You need to return once. Remember, React only accepts
But if you do a React fragment,
fragment, you can do that. Yeah.
you can do that,
Yeah.
and then it will be more clear, not?
No, the problem is.
Because I just want to do it in the input, by having the same component.
Yeah,
input
but if
and the-
let's
the table.
say you have like here component 1, comp 1, and inside it there is component. So technically in this, yeah, this is actually a good example to illustrate the power. So let's say fragment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can have fragment. Okay, so let's say we have here a fragment and user provider. So inside this, for example, about or home, I cannot access the user data.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. You
Yeah.
don't want to do
For
it.
example, you can.
But usually you want to put the provider in the top of everything. So eventually
when you
in
need
your
it-
application,
when you need it, you can
because this
grab
is
it.
the idea behind
Okay.
this is the idea behind the provider.
Okay.
So you can actually share a lot of data, and eventually, if you will need it, you will access it. But it's also good to think, because if you have a lot of providers in the same subtree, that also will be bad, because they will be updating and stuff.
But the idea is having like this, a provider that give you an error of in this
Yeah.
component when
Yeah.
when you know, so you
That's-
don't do it in the same.
It's like
component.
divs. Sure, like the providers and like these contexts, it's like divs or anything. The way you list them and you put them inside, there's no right and wrong. It's up to your application. You know what I mean? If you need it all inside, you can have it all in the top. If you need this here, this here.
Yeah,
that's
but
great.
it's better to put them like yourself.
Yeah, so
Because,
you don't need to think about it.
Yeah, because you need it when you use it when you need it.
Yeah.
So you said, oh, I need it here, so I will do it like that. Otherwise, I will create another class, another component.
But most of the time, you need just one of them.
Yeah.
It's not necessary to.
So
Great.
yeah, this is an
It's
important
great.
yeah, this is an important idea, because you can have multiple providers. In this case, we have one provider, but we could have multiple providers. Any question about what we did with the provider?
In fact, is a class, and you.
It's just a
make
component.
It's component.
Yeah, we are rendering it. You can see
But
that.
you make several copy from this component.
Yeah.
For example, customer component, color component,
Yeah.
component. Okay.
Is this clear? What we are doing here? We are passing value here, and inside color switch, we are using consumer with the value and getting the value from here. What's the purpose of the provider? To avoid what we did with the about. If I need information, I need to, and this is just having 3 components or 4. In real application, you will have like 17 components, and it's like I really work in project where you need user, like, and until you get to the where you need it, which is like super annoying. But with now, you provide the user, you go to where you need it, and you just show it there.
Now let's say that you wasn't recording, but
Forget what happened.
that's it. We see you next year.
But do you have any questions? I know that this topic is a bit difficult because it's touching the difficult parts of React. But I'm just trying to show you what exists and how you do it. But it's really up to you to go and practice a lot and understand the APIs. Because no matter how videos you watch, it doesn't matter.
Oh my god.
No, honestly, like as long as you, because when you type, your mind will start like, oh,
Yeah.
what?
True.
And it's like muscles. Like you can watch a lot of videos about stuff, but you need to do it. So I'm explaining so you can see a clear path. But to understand it and to be able to work with it, it's up to you how you can actually go and practice a lot. Because you can watch a lot of videos on YouTube instead of watching my videos. But still, it's you practicing. That's really the
Do
key.
you have time to explain about the reducer?
I didn't.
It's for
Hmm?
reducer because, for example, when you want to change a state, or add some property to a state
Yeah,
from the component.
yeah.
Also,
It's possible. Like reducer is just a way so you can have nice code. But it's not something that helps you doing stuff. Just so you can have nice code.
oh,
It's not something necessary. It's just to have better code, cleaner code.
oh.
It's not if you don't have it, you cannot do stuff. No, it's the
So
same
there-
way.
There is another way.
You can have it with state. You can add state dynamically. Set state with a new variable. So, questions. This is the last class.
We're about to.
Isn't there possible that
Huh?
final project? Video
Do you know when we are going to talk about the final project as she mentioned? Huh? Yeah.
Next week.
Proud and
Next.
next week.
Next week, because that's what we need. Next week.
So we are coming next week.
Next
Yes?
week is
Next
a
week
dream.
is from.
No, next week.
Next week is a dream.
Yeah.
Next week.
I know it's famous.
No, we are not.
Just a second. Homework. I've already explained the homework. And should I explain it again?
Of course.
That's my.
So basically, so we already did the research part. When you search for something, it will show you a list. Now, while showing the list, you will have links on every GitHub user. When you click on it, it will
Go.
to a new route and show the same way I did it, name with picture and stuff like that. So probably you will do the same as me. When you open a new thing, your component did mount, you have a profile page, it will fetch data. Make sense? So and read this really well. So
Guys,